Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Will here at Schedulefly. This is going to be a short episode, but an appropriate way, I think, to end this crazy year of 2020. So I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2020, and this is something that was sent to me by Wes. I believe it's a Facebook post. I think it's been making the rounds. It was written by a restaurant owner, and it is absolutely extremely well written, well thought out, and just nails the issue that restaurants are dealing with right now, which is just completely, everything is very arbitrary, and they're getting the raw end of the deal through no fault of their own, restaurants, while other folks have barely any restrictions and probably are more likely to be spreading COVID. So let me just read this thing. This is fantastic. Quote, as I walk into the grocery store with 30 other people at the same time, I think about my restaurant, which allows parties of 6 total, and meticulously spaces out reservations by 10 minutes, ensuring guests that aren't from the same party do not arrive at the same time. As I take a cart that has just had the handle sanitized, I think about my restaurant, which invested thousands of dollars so far on ink and paper to print disposable menus to ensure no guests touched the same menu. As I walk over to the produce aisle with 15 to 20 other people around me, I'm reminded of the strict no mingling, no walking around the restaurant other than to use the washroom or enter-exit policy we have in place, and the 6-foot distance between tables, which has cut our capacity in half. As I watch the woman next to me pick up apples with her hand, check them over closely, and then put them back on the open pile and repeat this until she finds the perfect apples, the same thing that all other people that day who want an apple will do when they put those apples into their mouths. I think about the 2-step sanitation process in place at my restaurant for all cutlery and dishes and glassware, and in between every single guest, and the sanitation of every surface guests touch, tables, chairs, salt and pepper shakers, etc. As I watch the man in the next aisle over ignore or not notice the directional arrows on the ground, I think about my restaurant, the constant redirecting our staff does of guests by locking certain doors, blocking areas off, and the work my team does to simply not allow guests to walk where they are not supposed to. As I walk down the cereal aisle, I see a person with their mask off so they can talk on the phone, and I'm reminded of my restaurant where our masking policy has lost us so much business. As I check out at the cashier, I use my debit card to pay and see the plastic film covering the terminal. It was not sanitized after the person before me used it. I'm reminded of the sanitizer used on the debit terminals in between each guest every time at my restaurant. As I stand at a crowded exit trying to leave, I'm reminded of the detailed contact tracing in place at my restaurant that records the name, phone number, table number, arrival and exit time, as well as the server and section the guest sat in that is in place at my restaurant. Not one of those pieces of information was taken from any customer here. As I get into my car and watch all these people leave the store, I wonder which person will visit my establishment after contracting COVID at this grocery store. And I wonder why on earth my restaurant will be blamed as a source. Restaurants are being targeted as the source of COVID infections because we are one of the only businesses required to provide contact tracing. Someone with COVID could have gone to Costco, Home Depot, Walmart, the mall food court, and any grocery store, etc. Yet it's the restaurant that took their detailed information that will be forced to close and deemed responsible for the infection. You want to blame restaurants for the spread, and after thousands of dollars investing in equipment, training, stricter policies than anywhere else, then prove it. It's extremely well said, well written, well thought out. It's blatantly obvious to most people, other than the politicians putting in these very arbitrary policies. And I don't want this to be political, and I don't want this to be negative either. I mean, this is the end of a crazy year. So what do we get from this? Like, where can we go that's positive What's the positive energy we can take from what I just read going into 2021? Well, first of all, many of these things that restaurants have unfortunately been forced to put into place will ultimately lead to better policies and procedures, more efficiencies, just better run, smoother, safer restaurants. So that's a good thing. The public is very aware in most cases that they need to support their local restaurants because they get it. The only people that don't get this is politicians, of course. Folks understand this, but we want to spread this around. We want to support our local restaurants, and we want to go into 2021 with some positive energy. So let's just double down on supporting the independent restaurants around us, knowing that this is what they're dealing with, knowing that they're the folks that immediately, oftentimes voluntarily shut down back in March just to for the greater good. These are folks that love their communities. Hospitality is in their nature. It's in their DNA. It's what they do. It's what they love. It's why they wake up in the morning. It's to focus on others, providing something meaningful and enjoyable experience for others. And that's in their restaurant, in their community. Who do you call when you want food donations or other types of donations? If some of the first people you call are independent restaurant owners. They're amazing people. We've been so fortunate for 13 years now to serve thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these people, and everyone that we've gotten to know, has that type of focus. They care about the people they serve. They care about their teams. They care about their communities, and oftentimes, they're woven into the fabric of what makes a community successful. You think of a really awesome city or town, and you start naming why is that city or town awesome, and restaurants come up very quickly in that conversation, if not first, almost every time. They're the hub of culture. They're the hub of where families and friends and colleagues and members of the community gather to celebrate, to mourn, to get away from it all for a little while. And they're the folks that have taken a really hard hit. So 2021, this thing will pass through at some point. We believe that people will go back to independent restaurants big time. But don't forget what we read here and spread this around. Make sure people are aware. So hopefully some of these restrictions can get loosened up here. More relief can be provided to these restaurants, and more folks will continue to support their local restaurants, knowing all the while that this is the most creative, thoughtful, intentional, badass group of people in your community, and they'll get through this. They'll dust themselves off. They'll innovate. They'll tinker. They'll come up with creative solutions, and they'll power through this. And we'll all be there to support them. Y'all are awesome. Everybody that we serve at Schedulefly, or if we don't serve you at Schedulefly, independent restaurants, we love the community. We love being a part of it. We love serving all of you. We love hearing your stories. We love taking care of you any way we can. And we're looking forward to a great 2021. Y'all take care. Happy New Year.